Alright, so I already talked about all my guitars in a previous video, so now I thought we should talk about some of my production stuff. This will be like a part 2 for my end of summer summary. So this will be more or less just documenting where I'm at as far as home studio stuff goes. I'm not quite sure how much my setup will change in the next year, but you never know. Alright, so I figured we'd start with the PC side of things. So this is a PC I put together at the beginning of the year. I really like this case, actually. It's a really nice case. It's got that window you can see in there. I've got 2 external drives you can see up top there for backup and stuff. I don't really want to open up the case right now, so I just brought out the boxes of some of the components in there for visual. I went with a Ryzen 7 that has 8 cores and 16 possible threads. This, of course, being because for audio production, you supposedly need as many cores as possible, and I figured this would be the end-all solution for it. Of course, Ryzen or AMD makes what's called the Threadripper, which would have double that, but that was almost like 800 bucks or something at the beginning of the year. So this was a slightly cheaper option, but still having more cores and still cheaper than Intel. I know everyone brags how good Intel is, but it just doesn't have the same amount of cores to compete. I know the clock rates are more efficient and stuff like that, but I ended up choosing this guy anyway. Not that graphics matter, but the graphics card in there is a GTX 1050 Ti right now. If you're curious. That's actually the thing glowing, you can see. Just makes it look cooler. I guess it's pretty decent for video production. So also in this guy I have a 1 terabyte SSD as well as a 500 gigabyte SSD as well as a whole terabyte of regular hard drive space. I kind of threw a lot of money into this guy, trying to start Said Too Much Productions at the beginning of the year, thinking this would be the kind of end-all PC for all of my needs, but I don't know if anyone else has this experience. All this PC stuff just never feels like enough. All the new software and plugins that come out just constantly require more power. I'll show you guys in a minute, but FL Studio just keeps kind of crapping out on me sometimes. I'm a little frustrated, to be honest. But I am pretty proud of building a custom PC myself, buying all the components and putting it together. And the option for switching things out and upgrading is always there. So that's that. Now we can take a look at some of my audio interfaces. If we open the closet here, you'll see my makeshift DIY vocal booth right here. So for the vocal booth, I have this Scarlett 2 input, 4 output right here. I've only got 1 mic hooked up to it right now. You know, this is kind of all I have at the moment. The microphone is just a large diaphragm condenser mic from Audio-Technica. It was pretty, probably I'd say mid-range price. You know, it came with the mount absorber and stuff like that. It's not the best microphone, but it gets the job done for now. I definitely would want to upgrade my microphone game in the future. Got the nice pop filter right there. Exploring the vocal booth for a second, you can see all this kind of audio padding. More or less. I'm not sure if it does very much. Lights over there. We've got a mount for phone or camera kind of thing if we want to record in here. I've got this nice kind of place where you can put a laptop or a phone or something if you want to look at lyrics while you sing. I've got these headphones hanging up right here. You can monitor yourself. They go directly into the interface. You know, it's all pretty straightforward and easy. You can manipulate the interface while you're testing out the mic and lay down some tracks. I do have this one other kind of microphone I have that's more of a kind of karaoke kind of microphone. I would never record with this. I forget why I bought it in the first place, but yeah. It's just, it picks up too much noise. It's just really bad quality. But I use it a lot as more or less a prop in a bunch of videos. My dream kind of setup would be to use the second input right here for maybe an SM7B or something. Set up right next to the large diaphragm condenser mic, so you could have both of them recording at once and then choose between the two, kind of, for vocals. Yeah, but that's just kind of a dream for now. So I think that covers everything in here. Oh, I do have a few extra audio kind of crap. Some wireless headphones I've never used, and then this is a forget what it's called, the Line 6 UX1 or something like that. Just another audio interface that I used to use. It came with Pod Farm kind of stuff, which was pretty cool, I guess, if you're into Pod Farm tones, because it is from Line 6. But maybe a couple of years ago, it broke. It doesn't work right now. I didn't really do too much looking into troubleshooting with it, so I could probably get it to work in the future. That's why I haven't like tried to do anything. I haven't like sold it or tried to pawn it off or anything yet, but yeah, it just sits right there for now. So all that leads through this long USB cable that runs through the padding down here to the floor, down around, and all the way to the PC. So you can get pretty isolated vocals in there. I'm very happy with the solution I've kind of come up with. Alright, so the other interface I have is the Line 6 Helix, which gotta say I love. It's more or less my main audio interface. You know, a lot of the time I'm just sitting down right here and I can plug in an instrument, you know, just directly into it. I can monitor directly from it and not have to worry about latency. Still be able to turn down some of the specs on the DAW, but still be able to get that zero latency. Usually when I track though, I do track just the DI, so I can reamp it later if I want. But again, it's great for monitoring. I've never been a big fan of analog equipment. It's just too expensive. I mean, it just blows my mind how much people are willing to spend on analog gear, when like a cell phone or a PC is like considerably much cheaper than a huge rig. I mean, I love guitar, but it just seems to me it's not worth as much money as like it shouldn't be. Prices should not be that high. Thus, digital gear, I believe, is the answer. People kind of complain that digital has a certain tone to it, but I mean, I don't really care. I guess analog gear adds a little bit of nuance or noise even, but that wouldn't be a good thing. I find that with just a little bit of extra notch kind of filtering, or just filtering in general, you can get a really decent tone. You can fight me in the comments, but I mean, digital is the future, guys. Analog is like respectable in all the technical electric engineering that goes into it, but get over it. Alright, so those are both of the interfaces I use. Now we can talk about, I guess, MIDI controllers. I have this really nice 49 key Samson Graphite 49 right here, which has treated me very nicely. I hardly ever track the controller buttons to anything. I know how to, but it's just never really had a good function for me. It's pretty light and cheap, which is what I expected. I don't really have any complaints about it, except for the fact that, if you can see here, some of these keys have raised up a little bit higher than some of the others. And I swear they were all flush when I first got this, but over time, just some of these have been popping up for some reason. I'm not quite sure if I should be alarmed or whatnot. It's not an issue for, as far as playing goes, it's not anything difficult, but just something I noticed, and if you were probably curious about this guy, maybe. And I also have this Korg Nano pad that I bought because I thought it was kind of cool, and it was pretty cheap. Just something quick. I thought it was a cool kind of controller because it has this XY pad, which is pretty cool if you've ever messed with engineering synth sounds. I thought that would lend itself to creativity a little bit more. Being able to mess with, say, a low-pass filter at the same time as a FM modulator. You can program these pads to be any note you want, which I also thought was cool because you can put it into, you could just straight up do like a piano kind of thing, or you could do the traditional, you know, drum kind of setup, or anything you want really, maybe like a chromatic kind of guitar thing, and these representing two strings maybe, separated by a fifth or a fourth. I also figured you could probably like hold it in a certain way and play it almost like a guitar. I kind of had the idea of doing a full song like that, which I'll probably do in the future. So your right hand is still like fretting notes and playing notes, but it doesn't have to be set up chromatically. It can just be set up straight up in a scale. And then with your right hand, instead of having to pick strings, you can just manipulate the XY controls. Back when I was doing research, there were a couple of mini guitars that do stuff like this that I thought were pretty cool, but just to experiment with it, I bought this guy. A couple people may roll their eyes at the idea of just trying to make guitar easier or in a simpler kind of controller idea. But in my opinion, as long as we can get people away from just hitting a spacebar on their laptop to play music and actually perform on some kind of instrument, that is a win. And honestly, it's a lot of fun trying to come up with new instruments, new ideas. Like, come on guys, are you a true artist or not? So those are my two main mini controllers. I do have this one extra microphone right here. It's just a straight up, pretty cheap USB microphone. I would probably use it if I was ever doing production kind of tutorials. So, you know, I just have it plugged into my PC because my computer has a bunch of USB ports and I figured I might as well use them. So yeah, so it's there if I ever want it. Also shout out to the VR headset I have, just always mounted right there. I still think it's a pretty cool idea messing with the ambisonic stuff if you've seen that video. We need more people to get on board with at least just 360 ambisonic sound, so stay tuned and bear with me. And by all means, if any of you guys who do production want to get into it and see more or less how I did it, or just have any questions about it, please feel free to tell me and get involved. So before we get into straight up software, we can address how I monitor while I mix. You can see these pretty impressive Logitech speakers. If I get closer, yeah, Logitech speakers. Can't get much better than that. You got the Logitech sub. I think everyone in the world has used a pair of Logitech speakers. I mean, if you're gonna mix, you might as well mix on what people are gonna listen to on, right? But in all seriousness, I have the output of the Helix audio interface going to the Logitech speakers right here. So I can turn on the external speakers, or they have this breakout direct line in right here that I feed over into this guy. So this guy breaks out into regular headphones right here. I've got laying right here. These are open back, or I think they're semi-open back actually. I bought open back headphones for mixing because I figured that might be a little bit more natural kind of sounding. So I can get away with not having to use legit monitors. Having that open air, non kind of vacuum seal, I thought maybe would translate to a open room kind of feel. These are supposed to be a pretty even response as well. I know you're not supposed to mix with headphones, but for the life of me, I'm not quite sure why. I mean, I'm assuming the main reason people say that is because you can't monitor bass that well, but I have the solution right here. This guy's pretty cool. It's called the Sub Pack. What it actually does is it's pushed against your back and it will physically vibrate and move you to get you to feel bass. It's more of a tactile bass, and it simulates how physical airwaves would actually move like your whole body. And it translates to your ears as well. So it's really good for monitoring low end. Okay, so I quick just put a simple sine wave kind of going down real quick. Yes. So I don't know if that registered at all, but it is pretty freaking cool. I think it advertises it goes down all the way to like 4 hertz technically. Just you can feel it just physically oscillating. So it's super good for monitoring low end, especially like the sub-contra bass stuff I've been messing with. Very helpful. It comes in like 2 versions. One is this backpack-like kind of version, and the other is one that's meant exactly for a producer's kind of chair. But I bought the backpack version because I thought, well, I can just invert it and flip it on the back of a chair anyway. And I could also use it for like VR or something if I really wanted to, or just for casual listening. Just strap it to the back of my back. It's pretty impressive. It's hard to describe, but it's pretty impressive when you first feel it. Is the best I can say. I mean, it feels like you're at a really loud rock show and you can feel it just in your chest, more or less. So that's my solution to headphones, and then I say headphones all the way. The main reason being that I have neighbors that are pretty close. People get so caught up in whether they're truly hearing the signal like clean and pure or just totally flat. And I kind of used to feel that way too, but just doing more thought into it, it's never going to be perfect, and just the pursuit of that kind of perfection is really pointless. I mean, people don't listen to music in perfectly acoustically tuned rooms. I don't know if I speak for anyone else, but definitely when I'm going to check out new music, I'll check it out on just a pair of cheap headphones or something, or a lot of the time on my car. I'll try to check it out on my car system. Actually, yeah, I really try to check out new music directly in my studio kind of rig. Yeah, just car and earbuds is how I do my recreational listening, so... I mean, if you really want to get picky, you could even like start to go into, well, are your ears monitoring it in a flat response? I mean, everyone's hearing isn't perfect, not to be gross, but like wax and build up and stuff like that. Obviously, you can just get fatigued from listening from stuff too long. I mean, it's just, there's too many variables to get caught up in all that kind of stuff. So I've been doing my mixes, doing the stereo headphones and the sub pack to monitor bass. And then of course I'll always reference with my Logitech speakers, and I'll go out to my car, check it in there, and maybe check it on a pair of earbuds before I finally decide on a final mix. Yeah, so you can also fight me on that in the comments. I would like to know what you guys are doing and what your thoughts are. Oh yeah, and real quick, I do have these closed back headphones, of course, that are actually pretty decent, from a company called PSB. I used to do a lot of mixing with these guys, but obviously I've dropped them a bunch, so I'm not quite sure how good the response is anymore. You know, I've kind of crudely taped them up, and they still work, and they're a good pair of closed back headphones for monitoring recording vocals. So I have them in here right now, and I use the open back ones that maybe have a little bit more color to them, but I still like them. That's another thing is people have different preferences when it comes to EQ curves as well. Like, I don't think anyone actually likes a pure flat response. I find I do like my mids a little bit scooped, and maybe that's because I listen so much in my car. I find that I have to boost the mids on these closed back guys a lot, past the point where I would consider pleasant. But I have to, because I know it will sound better across different speakers and headphones. So I guess now we can talk about software. I'm just going to try to crudely capture the screen here real quick. I think you can tell. This is FL Studio, of course. I kind of forget why I bought FL Studio. Looking back, I'm guessing it's more or less the first party plugins that they have, especially for instrument generators. You know, I've loved messing with Citrus right here. I've made like a bunch of different presets. Yeah, I've messed with Citrus a lot. I think another reason too is because it has free updates. This is FL Studio 12.5 right now. I know FL Studio 20 is out, but I haven't gotten around to using it yet. I'm always scared that I'm not going to be able to open up old files and just stuff isn't going to work as soon as I update software. I've had that happen before, like just regular Windows updates. I've had FL Studio act buggy on me, and it scared the crap out of me. So yeah, I always try to avoid updates until I have a nice window where if something goes wrong, I can troubleshoot and fix it. Yeah, so this is FL Studio, which I know is non-traditional for especially the metal kind of mixes I do. So if anyone out there also uses FL Studio for kind of rock and metal and punk, give a shout out, please. You know, there's more of us out there, right? Of course, I use a lot of Kontakt. Kontakt is great. I use a preset for Studio Drummer to track all my drums. If I were to buy new software in the future, this is probably number one area I can improve, is to buy a decent drum sampler. But it works for now if I just do some minor EQing and maybe some extra sampling on the side as well. I'll go ahead and open up a project real quick. I'm not going to get too much into my mixing process, but
then you smiled over your shoulder. For a minute I was so cold. No, I know I needed you, but I never.
See there, you can hear FL Studio kind of crapping out on me there. This is a new cover I'm kind of working on. You know, not a lot of guitars. More focused on other genres that I haven't really messed with as much right now. But yeah, you can hear FL Studio kind of crapping out on me, which I'm a little frustrated. I thought my PC build would have been the end-all solution for that, but I still find it's a little bit buggy. Especially when I'm tracking a lot of guitars too, because yeah, so not a lot of guitar parts. I kind of have it chopped up right now. I'm gonna re-record it. This is more of a demo kind of phase, but yeah, so this is the DI and it feeds into Helix Native, the software version of the interface down there. So I use this a lot, and I find that a lot of instances of this will give my CPU troubles. So I try to limit the amount I have, but it's just so useful and versatile. I can talk probably more about my signal chain in the future if you guys are interested in that, but I don't think I'll do that right now. I have a couple of go-to presets I made a couple of years ago that I always kind of revolve around. If I'm being honest, I don't really like trying to come up with new tones. It's just, there's just a lot of nuance to it, and even more so than creating a synth patch or something. Like, just way too nuanced. A lot of variables. You can spend like a whole week trying to come up with tones. So I have my handful that I've already spent quite a bit of time on, and I always just revolve around those. The fact that I use a lot of in-box stuff for guitar tone just goes to show you that digital is the future, guys. I mean, with all the different plugins and all the different things you can use, this is the final frontier. This is infinite possibilities. I don't know why you would want to limit yourself with analog gear. You can do crazy kind of stuff with digital, and people are always coming up with new effects and plugins and stuff that you can mess with. If I'm being completely honest, my dream rig is a audio interface and a PC. No joke. You know, and probably a controller just so I can change stuff without having to go over to the PC. Just even detailed EQing before you go into the amp can really shape your sound and make you sound like completely different pickups, you know, make your guitar sound completely different. I know Line 6 does have their line of guitars that will do pickup modeling and all this other kind of stuff, just all digital, and I really am a fan, and I think that's the future, and fight me in the comments. It's 2018, we don't use 50 TVs anymore. Why would we use 50s equipment for guitars and stuff like that? It just makes no sense, guys, come on. You know, I get that there's a bunch of artists that sound really good with their analog gear, but they're not good because of their gear. You're not going to be as good as them because you have analog gear. Like, we need to get over this and just start pioneering new sounds for the future. And we need more people to play guitar. We need to have it less intimidating to have to buy all this expensive equipment and stuff like that. Just buy a guitar and plug it into your PC. So yeah, that's kind of my software rant. I can go more into detail about actual mixing kind of stuff I do. Probably in a future video, if you guys want. Ending the video, I guess, yeah, I got the 2 monitor setup, which is pretty nice. It's actually really nice. I love that. So, anything else I can think of? I've got a dry erase board. And I think that's pretty much it for the bedroom studio. So I guess that's the end of Summer Summary. If there's anything else you guys can think of that you'd like to see, let me know. This is Kevin from Said Too Much. Thanks for watching.